Well, folks, just another really quick one here. I just finished one. Didn't hop back on so quickly, but whatever. And um, I think I just said folks, which I feel mixed about. It's a bit of a trigger word for me, but for a couple of reasons. But it also makes me feel really old to use the word. Then I almost said another one, but I didn't know if people would like it. Not that it's bad. So I'm just curious. I know that I don't know how many YouTube. I know that like famous people in general often, have nicknames for their. I feel like fans is maybe a word that might be kind of a bit larger than what I'm looking for, and am I looking to get fans? I don't know, but this is it, right? But um, I'm also thinking I might like to kind of, and I should have done that before I started, perhaps, but whatever. I might like to kind of come up with a collective nickname for y'all. Then you can let me know what you think about it. Um, but since the title, I wish it did, and I don't know if it depends on the type of device or whatever. Since the title does not show, except for when you're going through the setup steps and clicking go live, and afterwards, I want to remember um, to to cover it. Even though sometimes my titles, and they sometimes do come to me very easily, are not as all encompassing as or as sometimes the videos, especially the longer ones, cover more than what the title kind of says. I do know that it's important to at least try and cover what the title says, because otherwise it's misleading, right? So, and there was somebody there for a minute, and they're like, yeah, I'm not too sure about this title. Actually, I don't want. Some people might find it uncomfortable to be, self. I would think that most of us probably think that we are fairly self-aware, and I've been told that I really am. Um, but I never really thought about how some people that might be an uncomfortable thing. But at the same time, I kind of maybe get it. Since we have nobody here right now, and I don't have to keep, although there's always the after people, but I don't know. I'm kind of just thinking also though, like just let it be natural, just whatever comes out as a possible nickname is what it would be. I'm not asking for them for myself, but but um, yeah. I mean, what prompted it was kind of, I'm not being specific, so it could be anything. Was kind of somebody who I know is very smart and very good, although has a lot going on, but juggles quite well. And again, that could be anybody. Asked about a couple details about something. It's not Thursday. About something which has already been kind of said to her a couple times, or at least once for sure. And at first I thought, well, maybe she's just double checking. But I guess this is where although I can be impulsive, would be saying to myself, do I has the person already given me this information? And then if so, okay, then I don't need to ask. Or I would say double checking, or couldn't remember. Again, I'm not being specific. It really could be anything, anything and anybody. But but it's something that I went through, and it reminded, and it was interesting because other people aren't us, but we can think that it makes a whole lot of sense, for them to do what we would do, or most likely would do. Um, and what are your thoughts about that? We don't have to get in. If anybody that I know sees this, and there's all these videos about, I learned this in 10 minutes after this many years, or don't tell people, but those seem to be popular right now. But if it's anybody that I know, we don't have to get super specific about the topic, and it doesn't even have to be talked about here necessarily. but I do think that it brought upon an interesting realization, and that the importance of having that realization. It's probably not the first time I have either. Is allowing both to grow a little bit. Both and any of us to grow. that that kind of inspired the possible nickname, but no, I don't think so. Um, what would I mean, if I was to say, I guess it'd be based on me and the content that I try and put out there, which is rather varied. It's true and diverse, but oh boy, um, I really don't know. I can be creative, but I really am not sure. Hmm. Kind of thinking about somebody that I may or may not have alluded to in this. Um, I can almost think of one that's a little bit easier connected to her, but um, it's almost too obvious, too simple, uh, and sometimes I guess depending on what you signed in, as it can be a bit specific. Um, I don't know, but it's interesting to think about because it's kind of like what keeps coming into my mind is kind of around the essence of what do I, how would I want to see as a collective my viewers, in as much sense as we can make that make or as we can have that making. By the way, just to kind of say something on the other topic, I'd have to be careful I don't fall down the rabbit hole. But no, as far as gosh, I well, you know what? Why don't I do it this way? This is interesting. This is an interesting approach. If I think of since kind of relaunching or since kind of starting to upload content again or do live streams, um, there are a couple people that have maybe been here that either aren't or have appeared not to be really the not that I'm super specific and wanting to limit it, but the audience that um, my content would be for. But to those, even though sometimes they, kind of abruptly wander off and I guess get distracted or whatever, but those that have um, what have they had in common? I'm thinking of well, there was one that was quite nice, but two actually, but I've only ever seen them on one of the videos. And that just could mean that they got stuff going on in their life and they're busy and whatever. Um, that they haven't seen other videos that they decided that they just want to watch for a little while before they say stuff, whatever it is. Although they weren't really shy the first time. Although the one when it was quite nice. Hopefully everybody's okay. Um, it was quite nice, but I brought the computer to kind of one of its main places, and I didn't. If I had it plugged in, it's the fact that it's a loose connection and it wasn't plugged in, and it drops fast when it's not, even with minimal usage. And so it kind of turned itself off. Um, um, let me know what you think of some of these ideas, and let me know if you think of any as well. Um, two came to mind. I'm not sure if I like them though. If I like the ideas. One is kind of the next generate. Next. I don't know. I don't know because that's almost too specific. The and the all lovers sounds kind of funny, but positively diverse hippies, hippie like, and then there's that word. I'm liking that. I'm hoping you are too. The positively diverse hippie hippies and wannabes. I don't know. I have no idea. And I mean hippie. Some people may not like that word. Um, I don't know. This is why I want your input. What I'm trying to do, folks. Now, I've only been rolling 11 minutes, so somebody just tuned in. I'm trying to, as the description says, think of kind of a creative idea I had. Think of what I would call the viewer, or like, okay, you left. But anyway, in diverse is such a diverse word. It might be too diverse. um, the inclusive hippies? I have no idea. I have no idea. I think I need some help with ideas. Unless you like that. Thing is I guess you can choose whatever you want that makes sense. I I don't know because if I get too many ideas, I won't be able to choose. It is the channel that I do the live streams on that I own. So I mean, it kind of makes sense to for me to kind of decide and I might not get other suggestions, and if I do, like I say, I could find it hard to pick. So maybe I should just go with the. But sometimes the spelling in the title would be a little bit iffy. I think it's obvious because because of the amount of characters that it can have. But then I could work it into the description each time. Um, Hello, my positively diverse hippies. Oh no, I think I have seen people do this occasionally, but it's been a while. My darlings, just kidding. Don't know. Anywho, I don't really want something marking my ear just went funny, but yeah. Anything else to kind of say on the topic though? Quickly, I wonder. I don't know. The only thing that kind of comes to mind at the moment is kind of just asking you, what do you think are the importance of being self-aware, which is not self, and it's the way people that post on the internet can seem as if they're just full of themselves or you know, love themselves. I mean, but what's wrong with that entirely? And I mean, I don't have a big ego, but as far as yeah, so it's not really even that, but it can be, I suppose. But I do feel like a lot of us are on autopilot in our own ways and in common or just in a busy way or not in a more lethargic kind of way. Cathartic, is that the word? Lethargic, cathartic, yeah. um you know and so um both have the potential to be self-aware, but are you being? And what was the other? And conscious, critical, that might be I don't like that word necessarily, but that might be another, like the example that I thought of. um you know I I put myself in that person's shoes, but I also I did it kind of in a couple ways. And one way kind of bounced back to me. And it was kind of like I thought to myself, yeah, if it had been me, because I'd be worried that, but, I live my somewhat slow paced life, but I'd be thinking, do I know this yet already? Um, or how am I going to come across? I mean, sure, I'm impulsive and random sometimes too, but you know, I'm trying to kind of watch that a bit closer, and it's never in bad ways really, but I mean it's something to really kind of pay attention to, I would say, and that makes you more self aware, right? It's one of those things that could be a much bigger topic. Lot more could be said, um, but this is what's kind of on my mind with it right now. And since the live chat is kind of quiet, and I am getting a bit better at putting quite a bit in a smaller amount of time. And it's good to have that variety. And then once people start liking the content, maybe they'll want to watch the longer ones. It wasn't intentional to just start posting long ones right off the hop. It's just I had the time. I may have been briefly distracted, or there's a lot again. I may have been briefly distracted, or just slow. But I feel like that is kind of happening in the shorter ones somewhat, and it's a learning curve. And again, I'm not saying that necessarily, and hopefully you wouldn't either, that necessarily the long ones are not good. You know, call it a movie if you will, just not quite to the same caliber, and I'll work on that. But you know what? Just like you know, a performance of a song or whatever, there's nothing wrong necessarily with having it simple and kind of raw. You know, as opposed to like having a whole bunch of stuff done to it. Although that can be cool, right? It's the same with videos. But yeah, so there's always going to be newbies tuning in, and then there's going to be ones that have seen some before, and we kind of let them kind of, um, you know, end of the day, I can only make suggestions that I think make sense, but you should do what you think makes sense. And I just hope that my content is um, impactful, helpful, enjoyable, and I feel like mostly that's happening naturally because that's just you know the way I am, and so that comes across in the videos. But yeah, but not to everybody because somebody was just there for a few seconds and they're like, "Yes, and I'm jealous," but you haven't seen my topic about jealousy in the other video. I didn't touch on it a lot, but I could. Or they're like, yeah, I agree, but I just don't have time now. Or they're like, oh, I just had a technical something and I'm back. Whatever it is, because somebody is here. Um, so yeah, but just for a moment. But that was such a like so quick that they came and went and came that I'm curious if they're going to come back again. So let me just kind of rest for a moment and think about what I might want to say so that there's something being said when they come back. And if nothing comes, then I wrap up. And if something does, maybe I'll say it. And I'm going to give myself, unfortunately, well, yeah, kind of. I'll give myself a couple, 3 or 4 minutes. I know that might be a long time, but it feels right. And if something comes before then I will say it. That's a neat practice to kind of get into when doing these, perhaps, because, you know, it's like, is there meant to be something else in this video or not? Let's decide in the moment. I don't remember what I put in the description, if anything. I feel like I did go back. I think it was just about the nicknames. And I kind of, or whatever you want to call them, and I kind of think that I like what I came up with. What I could do comes to mind to maybe do this. So what I'll do is tell you about some of my upcoming ideas. Um, Things I would never do. Presumptions. And how we all do them, and when it's a good thing and makes sense to do, and when it's not. Um, I don't know what else I'd do with this topic other than say this at this point. That's true. I mean, sometimes they were just coming, and I was just making a quick note. Also, are we you really listening, or are you just looking to absorb and learn as much as possible to get all the answers of life sometimes, and at such a rate that you miss, you know, potentially helpful things that we um I heard somebody say it was in their own video. They said it in the video. I don't know if they'd ever seen mine or not. I'm thinking probably likely not. And I also don't think I'm that awkward. But somebody had said um, in a video, was trying to tell people not to be awkward. And it was my initial thought was, well, that kind of is up for definition or interpretation. You know, what one person thinks is awkward is okay. So I've kind of done the next one. I don't know if there's really anything a whole lot to say on it, but what one person thinks is awkward might be really either cute or special or intriguing to somebody else, right? And I'm not really sure if there's, you know, and also it goes back to two the lens that we view it on. If we're looking to judge something as awkward or whatever, then we might more likely do so. But if we kind of, I don't know how to say it in words necessarily. I almost can, but if we don't have that intent, then we might not as likely focus on it. You know, um, and of course, I'm always open to suggestions for future videos. Not that I struggle to have them. And there was somebody there for 2 or 3 minutes, and they were like, I feel awkward just hearing the word awkward. I mean, possibly, again, you can't please everybody. And I know that people are complex and, myself included. And, I think it was in the previous video, not this one, but maybe I'll kind of make it stand out more somehow, like in writing, because otherwise they'd have to be watching it. Um, where it's kind of like, and that's working on the channel, where it's kind of like, well, I mean, I think the title, I think it was fairly short. Can't remember. Did it get to be half an hour or so? I can't remember. But I think the title will kind of could potentially really generate some conversation, and I hope that I am thinking of one slight edit to it that I might make, and it shouldn't add that many more letters to it. Um, it might just be capitalizing something. Um, I'm going to try this also. I can't remember if I just clicked when capping. These seem to be both pins. Yeah. So, yeah. Okay. I'm going to wrap this up, roll this up, and thanks for watching.